So for the past week or so, I've been playing a couple of indie games that deal with the aspect of survival. And I don't know why I'm playing both these games at the same time, because anytime I play something that has survival elements in it, I get this feeling in my chest that's very tense, because there's a lot happening. There's a lot that you have to do, a lot that you have to manage in a survival type of game. And I don't know why. It just stresses me out a lot, and I want to play something a lot more calm after I play this game. But for some reason, these games are sticking with me, one more so than the other, but I'll talk about that when I get to it. But yeah, these two indie games tackle the aspects of survival. Let's talk about the first game that has to deal with survival horror. So I've mentioned I hate this place a couple of times on the channel, and I'm kind of in the meat of the game right now. I'm actually almost close to the end because it's a relatively short game. I've been seeing people post that you can probably get to this game in about 6 to 8 hours, and I'm probably around there or so I'm getting close to the end. But this game is definitely kind of in that Resident Evil style, where you have a character that's in this very creepy ranch or this area, and you're roaming around and you're gathering resources to collect, and you also have the ability to craft and build out things to help you gain more resources, and discovering this crazy mystery involving the occult. It's very creepy and it's very horror-esque, and most things out in the world are out to kill you. Even the wildlife, from I don't know, plants to deers to anything you find on the ground, most things, no matter where you're at, will kill you. So you have to make sure that you're prepared in every way possible, from making sure you have enough food, bandages, bullets, things to craft out in the world, or also just able to run and have enough stamina to survive and run away from things if you don't have the tools to defend yourself. But I can see where the reviews are a little bit mixed on this game, and I've been kind of feeling that myself. The voice acting is not really that great. It's not really that interesting. It's very kind of one note. All the characters kind of sound the same. I don't really feel any of the vocal inflections from the main characters. Some of the side characters, especially some of the more creepy characters, are a little bit more expressive because they have to be a little creepy, but the voice acting leaves a little bit more to be desired. I'm not really enjoying that as much, but it is what it is. You don't really hear characters as much, but the voice acting isn't really that fun, even though this is fully voice acted. Combat is a little bit unpolished. You do have the ability to craft weapons, so you can craft guns, you can craft Molotov cocktails, grenades, mining, explosives, and other things. But your main mode of weaponry when you run out of things or run out of bullets is the bat that you use. But some of the attack animations when you hit enemies, particularly when you're hitting spiders, I don't really feel that, and it kind of is a little bit janky every time you hit a bat. It does cost a amount of stamina, but you're kind of just flailing the bat around, so the combat is a little bit unpolished. Even when you use firearms, you don't really feel the weight of using that gun. You don't really feel the recoil from all the shots that you give. You don't really feel how much damage everything is taking. Everything feels almost like a bullish sponge, so to speak. So I'm not really too keen on the combat. It could be cleaned up a little bit, and there's not a whole lot of variety in enemies. In fact, a lot of the enemies that I'm fighting are mostly spiders. When I'm running around the areas, I'll find giant spiders, little spiders that can take it out in the bat. I'll have to fight a deer and maybe some of the more creepier monsters, and then kind of upscaled versions of that. I'll find a lot of what I'm referring to as like creepy vines that you can actually just get away from if you hit the attack button multiple times, and it won't really hit you as much, but they kind of slow you down because they're kind of spread out throughout the environment. But I think the enemy variety is not really that impressive at all. There is a day-night cycle. The day-night cycle is present. You can go to sleep, you can wake up with the amount of hours. It actually takes you time in game to build things like, I don't know, a garden or a water tower to make water, or a workbench for you to craft stuff, or scrap metal to gain scrap, or a kitchen to actually help you create food or make food, apothecary that gives you healing items. So the day-night cycle is present, but anytime I was out in the world, it didn't feel different. I remember running through a forest in the daytime, and it was just as aggressive as it was in the nighttime. Yeah, it's a little less creepy in the daytime because it's daylight and the sun's out, but I'm still being chased around by creepy spiders, and it feels a little bit creepier at night, but it didn't feel as different. Even though this game says there's a little bit more difference in the day-night cycle, I didn't really feel that myself. I didn't really feel the tension or feel the difference in the day-night cycle. I think the camera may be a little bit too zoomed in. This is a top-down isometric based survival horror game, but it felt too close, so I wasn't really sure where I was going at all times. The environment felt pretty bland at times, and a lot of times I was just looking at the map to kind of figure out where I was going next. I was looking at the map a lot, and I didn't really feel that I was going in the correct place, especially when I'm trying to do some quest tracking. There wasn't really any waypoints to direct me where I go. Not that I need a waypoint at all times to tell me where to go, but it'd be nice to kind of have the camera a little bit more zoomed out so I can see. Maybe that's just part of the game being more creepy. You can't really see a lot of where you're going, but it would be nice from a gameplay perspective to actually have that present. But there are some aspects that I do like about the game. I do like the comic book-like style. It's really fun to see every action that you take, any sound action you take has a comic book sound. When you shoot a gun, it has the bam, or when you're walking on your footsteps, it has like a thud or like a quieter sound. So you can see the comic book influences there. I do like the 80s aesthetic. In fact, whenever time you boot up the game, it kind of reminds me of an episode of Stranger Things with a kind of synth pulsating rhythm. I think a lot of games like that kind of have the same vibe. So I do enjoy the Stranger Things 80s vibe of it. So I enjoy that as well. I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad thing. When you do start building, you do start crafting things, you get resources actually pretty fast. I was already feeling pretty over-resourced at a certain point. So I felt like I was getting a lot more resources. I had way more bullets. I had way more healing items. I had way more food than I had to deal with. And that's not really something that probably is necessary in a survival horror game. I think the thing about survival horror or any survival game in general is that the resources are supposed to feel scarce. I think that's the idea, but I think in this game you can kind of over-resource yourself by just building things out, and as they create resources for you, you just go back to your ranch and you collect things. Like you can get all the water, all the wood, all the scrap, all the things that you need to create food, create other resources to build upon that. You can create other structures to give you more resources. So there's a certain point in the game where you kind of just feel a little bit too overpowered. You feel too over prepared for the dangers ahead, and you just kind of feel like you're just never gonna die. And that's not something that should be present always in a survival game. You want to feel the tension, you want to feel the weight of it. Maybe there's just something in the middle. I don't know personally how I feel about it. I kind of like being a little bit over prepared, to be honest with you, but I can understand someone who is very into the survival horror genre that wants to feel the scarcity of your resources. But even that being said, I do have to think about my resources, like my health, my stamina, my food. One thing to note in this game is that food does not actually replenish health. Bandages and first aid kits do. Food actually replenishes your food bar, and if your food bar goes all the way down, your stamina goes all the way down, and you can't run, you can't use things like your bat, you can't use anything that requires stamina when you don't have enough food. So you always have to make sure you have healing items and food on you to make sure those resources are capped out and are ready, otherwise you will lose. And I think going back to a little bit of negative, because I do realize that anytime you're in a cutscene, your food bar does go down in the middle of a cutscene, which I think is weird. I feel like those bars should stay where they are, especially during a cutscene. It doesn't make any sense for my food bar to go down when I'm talking to somebody. It should be kind of frozen in time. I know, I understand the kind of realness of it, but it's a video game. I mean, it doesn't need to go down. It should be paused during that section. So I would offer that to the devs as a little bit of a critique and something to maybe change in the future. But I don't know. I just felt like it doesn't need to, resources don't need to deplete while you're in a cutscene. It doesn't make any sense to me. But the sound design is really good. I love playing this game with headphones specifically because you can hear all the things in the background and the foreground. You can kind of hear this like weird otherworldly sounds that are happening in the back as you're roaming around the area. You don't know where things are coming from. I had a few jump scares, especially when a ghost came out. So there is a little bit of that. The sound design is good. The vibes are good. And that's how I feel about this game overall. I Hate This Place is a good game. I do like it. I think the vibes are great. I think it does tackle the aspects of survival horror well, but I think the gameplay just needs to be improved. A little bit of quality of life features implemented there. The map kind of zoomed out a little bit so you can see more of your environment. So just a little bit of tweaks in here to kind of make it a truly good game. So right now I can understand why it's mixed. I do like the game personally for myself, but I do see where this game could have been improved. I think the vibes are great, but again, the gameplay can be improved as well. If you haven't seen anybody talk about Cairn, let me be the first to tell you, this game is incredibly beautiful. It is so nice. Every time I open up the game, you see just the beauty of where you're at from no matter where you're standing. You see just the background, the foreground, you see how high you're up, you see how high you've climbed. Just the aspect of climbing is very present. It makes me want to climb, not really, because I'm not really that kind of a person. I like to stay grounded. I never can envision myself climbing, but I can understand people who enjoy the sport of climbing as to the euphoria joy of being able to see where you've gone to where you're at, and just to see this expanse of the world. It's a beautiful, the scenery is beautiful. It really is intoxicating to just look out over the horizon and see how beautiful the world of Cairn is. And it's so cool to see. This game has me thinking about a lot of my resources in the best way. So unlike I Hate This Place, I think the resources a little bit scarce in Cairn. You have multiple different bars in Cairn. You have your health bar, which will deplete if you do things like run, because you are carrying a lot of heavy stuff. If you fall, obviously it will take damage, as you like actual fall damage, and will actually die if you fall high enough. You also have your hunger bar, you also have a water bar, you also have a cold bar, because as you go higher it's going to get colder. You can see the snow-capped mountains at the very top. If it rains, the mountain will be a lot slipperier and you'll have to deal with things like that. So you have to manage resources like your pittance, the chalk you have. You can collect things like flowers, you can collect water from streams that you find or waterfalls. So there's a lot to manage. So anytime you get to a save point, you have the ability to tent up and kind of do things like manage your resources, making sure you're cooking so you have food, replenish your water, tape up your fingers, because your fingers will actually take damage. You can actually look at your fingers and see the damage you've taken, and it actually shows you whether they're in good or excellent condition, and that will affect your grip strength. You can also compost things along the ground to your robot that will then turn into chalk, which you then can use in order to increase your grip strength, especially in some harder to reach areas, because there's some areas where you actually can't even use pittance. There's some like really hard surfaces that you can't dig into and you can't really belay off of, so you have to kind of almost free climb that. So there's a lot of thinking involved, especially when it comes to the aspect of climbing, because every little crack, every little crevice, you just have to figure out the right combination. And every time you move Ava's limbs from your legs to her arms, you gotta figure out just the right way to do it. I think in some ways you can kind of cheat in this game, because there's some physics in Ava's body that you can kind of twist and contort in a way that a normal body can't, because you can kind of move her legs and arms in a way that if you were a regular person you would probably break your legs, to be honest with you. But it's actually really fun. It has me thinking in such the best way. You can actually zoom out and view your route, the route you've taken. If you get a map, you can actually get a map that will show you the easier and harder routes to take on every section of the mountain. You can go up and down in elevation to see how high you need to go or how high you are. You can see everything around you. And so a lot of times I'm just kind of planning my route to see, okay, if I can go this high up to this point, I can go to a save point and save, kind of rest, recoup, maybe tent up, maybe rest, and maybe find the resources, maybe cook, and kind of fill up my bars from there. And so it's really awesome to survive in this way. It really hits my brain in a really good way. It makes me actually think about, how can I survive up this mountain? What are the ways that I need to do? How do I need to plan my route better? How do I need to manage my food better? How do I need to manage my water better? I see a lot of exploration present in this game as well. A lot of times when you're climbing, you can see signs, you can see various cave paintings or see various cave stories about the people that have lived on this mountain, kind of get a sense of the history around you. The cave systems are incredible. There's so much beauty and exploration. A lot of times I'm just looking in a cave, I just want to see what's in here and maybe grab some resources along the way. There's a lot of water that I can fill up my water bottle and also drink to kind of refill my water bar, and just kind of chill and hang out and kind of rest and regroup and kind of plan out my next route as I continue to climb up the mountain. So there's a lot of cool and rich history on the mountain. You can also see various notes from people that have made it up the mountain. I actually recently met a person that was climbing up the mountain. I did not expect to meet another person while I was on this journey, but you can actually meet someone else. The voice acting is actually really good in this Cairn as well. Ava herself doesn't speak a lot, but you do get a sense of her internal motivation. You kind of see the relationships she has with her loved ones as she gets messages from her agent. She kind of wants to be left alone, but she has this drive to just be the best climber in the world, and people recognize who they are. Her agent's constantly screaming at her for more news, and she's being checked on from time to time just to see how she is, so she can see just kind of how she's feeling every single moment. So I don't know when a cutscene triggers, but every now and again you'll get a cutscene, whether in your tent or maybe you're climbing up the side of a mountain, or you're about to climb up the side of a cliff to kind of rest and recoup and reset. And so it's very dynamic. I love this game a lot. Cairn definitely has game of the year potential to me. I've seen people put like, I don't know, 10 plus hours into this game, so I don't know how much more I have to go on this game. And maybe at some point when I do finish the game, there's a free solo mode that you can actually do this without the use of pittance. So I don't know how stressful that's going to be, but I do feel a lot of tension, a lot of stress, especially when I'm almost up the side of a mountain, or I'm about to hit a save point and I'm just almost getting there, and she's shaking. I'm trying to refresh your stamina. This game is so good. I could continue talking about this game, but man, Cairn is great. I hope you're playing Cairn. It's such a fun game. So overall, I think these two indie games are great at what they do in the aspects of survival. You can tell I like Cairn a little bit more than I Hate This Place just by the sheer amount of excitement I've had talking about Cairn. But I do like I Hate This Place, even though I think the gameplay is a little bit of a mixed bag. But let me know in the comments if you've played both of these games or even one of these games. Let me know how you feel about them in the comments, or let me know if you're going to pick these up based on watching this video. If you want to see a review of I Hate This Place, I'll link to a review from my buddy Dan at the Dan Good Show, who I featured on the last Indie Games Radar, where I talked about him in the community highlights section. If you want to see more of what I'm doing on the channel, including me making music for an indie game, that will pop out at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Chike, and I will see you on the next one. Peace out.